Hey folks, I'm H2 and you're on the F3 channel. Hey, do you want to get back here on the channel here and talk about health and healthcare in general? And maybe throw out the question, what is your body telling you? And if you're anything like me, you're kind of the person that avoided going to the doctor. And I grew up in the country, and unless you were gushing blood, there was no need to go to the doctor. I remember as a kid, I was outside playing and I cut my wrist on a piece of tin. And so I run in the house and show my dad, it was bleeding a little bit, but it was cut right down to the white meat. My dad looked at that thing, that's okay, yeah, all right. Kind of put a Band-Aid on it and sent me back out to play. And it was like, I thought, I was gonna bleed to death. But no, I didn't bleed to death. But that was just an example of, me growing up. We didn't spend a whole lot of time in the doctor's office, particularly getting checkups or anything like that. And so I grew up with that mentality that you only go to the doctor if you're so doggone sick or you're gushing blood. Otherwise, you manage that particular issue yourself. And so, fast forward, right up until just a couple years ago, started getting checkups and that sort of thing, and just kind of happened to mention some of the, issues or, conditions that I felt like I was having. Mentioned that to the doctor, and they ran all kind of tests and found all kind of stuff, and never up to that particular point, which was, back in late 2015, early 2016, have I ever paid attention to the vitals. When you first go to the doctor and you see the nurse first and they take your height, weight, blood pressure, maybe draw some blood and run all kind of tests. At the end of all that, you get this report, a few days later, telling you, what all that meant. And I had never really looked at my medical records, and I only went by whatever the doctor told me. So if the doctor didn't say I had an issue, I didn't have an issue. I didn't read the report. But lo and behold, I started to read those reports and Google every little item on that report to see what that meant. Because, all that medical jargon and those medical terms, you need a, double PhD to know what it is. So I just Googled it and found out what it's all about, what the normal ranges are or what they should be, and then I look at the range on my particular vitals that would or my medical report and my lab report to find out where I stood. And so everything that was out of tolerance, then I would do additional research to find out what I could do in order to turn that thing around. And so, most of the time, and so that this reminds me of an article I read where it said, 90 some odd % of all of our medical issues are self-inflicted by our lifestyle, primarily what we eat and the amount of exercise we get, or the lack of exercise that we get. So I started to do my own research there to find out, what could I do, short of taking any kind of medication, of how I could turn that thing around. And so I'm just here to report here. Got a good report that I was able to turn some things around, because my cholesterol was high, blood pressure was high, blood glucose was high, the A1C was high. It was all kind of stuff wrong there, but I didn't necessarily feel bad. But those particular key measurements were out of whack, and I don't know how long they've been out of whack, and certainly the medical professionals had never raised an alarm that things were out of whack. And so when they didn't tell me, I didn't worry about it, and I thought I was all good till I started doing my own research. So all that to tell you this: it is your responsibility to read your medical report and not just take the verbal report from the nurse or the doctor. They're great Americans and very, very busy, and so you can't rely on them to tell you every little thing. So take a look at your lab report, because those labs will tell you or give you a good indicator of where you stand health-wise. So you take a look at that lab report and you start Googling every one of those items on your lab report and find out what the range should be. And again, whether that's a young person, middle-aged, or an older person, because those ranges fluctuate based on age. But take a look at that and find out where you stand in all those areas where you are out of tolerance. Then do additional research to find out what you can do to turn that thing around. So chances are proper exercise and diet would do you a world of good. And for some conditions and for some things, you might have to eat or ingest specific foods in order to turn it around, and then maintain a proper diet with some exercise to maintain it. All right, so I just wanted to throw that out to you, because again, the F3 millionaire mindset is all about becoming a millionaire. But if you do not have the health, or if you're not well enough to enjoy it or to effectively manage it, it really does you no good. So I just want you to be informed and or reminded that it's your responsibility to maintain your health. All right? Hey, I appreciate you joining me. H2 is going to sign off.